everybody, it's Lisa Westervelt and I am here with my head joint ready for another beginning flute tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to teach kids how to tongue and start their notes with the tongue on their head joints. Now, this video is meant to be a continuation of my previous video, how to produce your first sounds on the flute. So this video assumes that your student and your child is already consistently able to do that, okay? So if you are not there yet, please go back and watch my first video, how to produce the sounds on the flute, and then come back to this one when that is second nature. Okay. So today we're going to talk about tonguing. Tonguing is kind of a tricky concept. I think the reason why tonguing is a tricky concept is because we can't see what's going on in there, in our students' mouths. They can't see what's going on in our mouths when we're demonstrating. So there's a lot of kind of guesswork and just trying to think of what's going to help them make that process go smoothly. So what I have found to be pretty successful is to first, don't even worry about this. Get them to just think about what goes on with their tongue in their mouth when they're speaking. Saying specific words like to or do. So they probably have never thought at all before about tongue placement inside their mouth. So when you ask them, what is your tongue doing? Where is your tongue in your mouth? You might get a lot of, I don't know what you mean. What do you mean? And so I'll just kind of guide them through the process. I'll say, okay, so say the word to. And so they'll say to. And I'll say, okay, so next time you say it, I want you to think about, where does this part of your tongue touch in your mouth just as you're saying that word, to. So I'm trying to get them to think about it. They might have a hard time explaining in words, articulating where exactly things are happening. So I'll try to guide them. I'll say, for me, when I say to or do, to, we'll start with to. When I say the word to, the very tip of my tongue is almost kind of touching the back of my teeth, but a little bit higher, like at that point at the roof of your mouth, where the pink part right there kind of meets the very top of the back of your teeth. So I'll kind of have them like feel around a little bit, try to find that spot, to. And it might not be exactly there, but then they'll be able to say, okay, well, to. It's kind of there, it's a little further back. And then I'll have them say, all right, let's try do. All right, how does your tongue feel different there? I don't know. So I'll say, all right, well, for me, when I say do, my tongue is maybe like a little bit more flat. Whereas when I say to, it kind of comes like the tip of my tongue kind of has this nice little like point to it, like kind of like a little sharpened pencil. And the do is more like a really kind of dull crayon that you've been coloring with too long or something like that. So in general, a lot of flutists like to use do when they're trying to get a softer, more gentle articulation, and more of a to when they're trying to get something more pointed. So one of those two words should work pretty well to get your student started in the right direction. Because when we speak, we're using words, and when we play the flute, we're really just speaking into our flute. So by making the equation with actual words kind of makes the process a little bit more making sense to them. Okay, so we're going to take our flute in our left hand like this, and this hand like this. And then I will tell my student, okay, so let's now say the word two into our flute. And so then they're going to do this. Two, two, two. And nothing's going to really happen except they're saying the word two with their flute up to their face. Okay. So now that their flute is at their face, I'm going to try to get them to hold out the word longer. So I'm going to say, all right, now we're going to say two, like that. And we'll just say two, and we're going to just hold that out longer. All right, so now two, two. Okay, so we're still not getting a sound. What we're doing now is we're just vocalizing the word two with our flute up to our face. Now I will try to reduce the amount of vocalization that is happening, and I'll say, okay, let's whisper it now and see what happens then. All right, so now let's see what happens when we whisper the word two. Okay, so now we're not getting the vocalization, but we're still not producing tone. We're just kind of getting that air sound. So now's the point where I'm going to go back to what we worked on in the first video and just have them blow, no tongue. Just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, so now we're going to do t, and then blow. But we're going to do the t part with the flute here, up to our mouth. So we're going to have t, okay, so then we're going to get, eventually we're going to like make full circle back to where we're saying two, except without vocalizing. So now the goal is to decrease that amount of space in between the t and the blowing the sound part. So I'll have them, once they're getting t really consistently, I'll say, okay, let's do it with less space now. Let's do it maybe something like that. And so then once they get really good at that, I'll say, okay, let's try to do it even less space, right? So you might get them doing that too, where the t part, their mouth is too open, right? So I'll say, okay, two, two. We'll make sure that we have our mouth in this position. And so usually somewhere around there, you can go from that point where there's a little bit of space to where they keep the air moving, and because they've practiced the blowing part, which they're already super good at, then they're able to get those notes. Okay, so there we go again. Okay, so what you might get from them is a really explosive tongue, because they're probably going to want to hold their breath. Like they're going to gear up for it, right? They're going to, and we're going to get that. Okay, so then that's just a matter of getting them to not hold their breath before they start. So I'll say, okay, let's take in a nice slow breath, like maybe 2 counts or 3 counts. And then instead of stopping here and getting ready and then going like that, we're just gonna right away before, like, so with no holding. So, and just get them to do it right away. Okay, so that's how I get them going, starting with tonguing. At this point, even when they're only producing a sound and not yet using the tongue, you can already get them going with some rhythm books, or just identifying different kinds of notes and trying to hold out maybe a quarter note, a half note, a whole note, and just getting them familiar with the types of notes, just using the head joint. I said last time you can So you can do that with the tonguing too. You can still do that. And so you can now start to combine the tonguing with these other exercises that you've already been doing with your students. Okay, so now that our students are starting to use their tongues at the beginning of their notes, I like to pull out this book. This book is called Winning Rhythms, and it's by Edward Ayola. And it's not expensive at all. It's like $5 or less. At least it was back when I bought it. I don't know. But what this book is it's only rhythm. So it's for all instruments because there's no notation. It's kind of like percussion rhythm. Like all of these pages, it's just rhythm, and it gets more complex as the book goes on. So it's gonna take them go with them for a while. You know, this first page here just deals with quarter notes and half notes in 4/4 time and quarter rests. So, you know, just to get them learning how to read rhythmic notation can be an exciting way for them to practice their tonguing. And they can clap this once they're starting to put the flute together. I like to have them just play the exercise on whatever note. So say we learned B. Okay, let's play this line on B, and then we add the note A, and then we can switch it up. We can practice on A, and then we can practice alternating. And so it's just a really great book that I really have been enjoying for many years with my students. So again, this is called Winning Rhythms. And this is just something that you can do even before the flute is all put together. So that's my next step, is I just get them like with a book. And then once they get comfortable reading quarter notes and half notes and understanding some of this rhythmic notation, then kind of putting it together with notes on the staff is just that much easier. Yeah, so this is what I use with all of my beginners before they're even in their first book. I start them in this. So I hope that gives you some ideas of ways that you can practice still just using the head joint, but getting them familiar with musical notation. So yeah, go out and get this book. It's not expensive, and it will last you, because I mean it goes into you know, it goes into syncopated rhythms and all kinds of different things, different time signatures, triplets, and you know, a little bit of mixed meter like 6/8, 3/8, 12/8, and yeah, I mean it doesn't have everything in it, but it's certainly a really good resource for like the first even 2 years, I think. I hope that this video was helpful for all of you parents and teachers out there that are trying to figure out how to get your students to start their notes with the tongue. And I will see you soon for my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.